Fantasy Fling Podcast. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us for a Friday fling as we give you the newest and hottest DFS deals, preview the DFS main slate, and take the dreadful walk of shame. Here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
Welcome back, Fantasy Fling listeners. This is Fantasy Fling. We are going over the Week 9 DFS main slate on DraftKings. This is going to be a quick one. What we're going to get into is, what we think the field is going to do right away. I'm going to give you the quick cash game plays that I like off the chalk, do a game-by-game overview, and then give you some stacks for your Millie Maker, your GPP preview. So let's get started. So the top game, arguably on the slate that we have from a overall game projection, total points, Los Angeles Chargers going against the Atlanta Falcons. So this game carries a 49.5 total. Chargers have a 26-point team total. They're banked up at wide receiver. No Keenan Allen, no Mike Williams. But, of course, they got Austin Eckler. Josh Palmer is going to be the chalk. He's probably going to be the top cash wide receiver, top owned for sure at a salary and the amount of volume that he's going to see. And then Gerald Everett as well is obviously a play. I believe you could play him in cash as well. I'm not going there in cash, but as well as in tournaments, definitely he's going to be a great tournament play in stacks with Herbert. Herbert +2, whether it be Eckler, Palmer, Carter, or Everett. So on the Atlanta side, we get Cordarrelle Patterson back. I think he is a GPP play only. That's it for me. He's obviously been in the nuts in the Millie Maker several times over the past year, but him first week back from IR, we don't know what his workload is going to be. It's already a committee with Algier and Huntley who have been running the ball well. They spent a high draft pick on Algier, so I like Cordarrelle Patterson, but I don't love him, so he's only in GPPs for me this week. Even though the Chargers have a very poor run D. So the other game we have, 45.5, pretty low game total, but Tua is back going against Justin Fields. We got Tua, who was in the nuts last week. We were all over it. And in stacks with Tyreek Hill, with Waddle, obviously there's going to be a lot of consideration there for GPPs. I do think Hill is playable in cash as well as Tua. And then on the other side, Fields has been doing quite well. They traded for Chase Claypool this week. I think you could, as a way to get contrarian, obviously do some field stacks. More so I like it with Mooney, not so much with Claypool being his first week. But Fields is a running quarterback, so you can obviously run him as naked as well. That's going to do it for that game. The next game, Carolina and Cincinnati. This is a low total, 42.5. Joe Mixon is coming in as chalk, and I'm not really sure why. He's been very inefficient as a runner, but nonetheless, I think with Chase being out, he's getting a huge uptick in targets. I believe he had like 8 targets last week. So that is a lot of the reasoning. Despite him being inefficient, it's just more of a Chase volume. So in cash, you can play Mixon. On the other side of that, you could play Donta Foreman because there's no Chuba Hubbard this week, and DJ Moore looks like a solid play. I believe on the Cincinnati side, they do project pretty well passing the ball this week. So I like Higgins. I like Boyd. And obviously Hurst is a contrarian, tight end play. He has some consideration in tournaments as well and stacks with Joe Burrow. Now, arguably the best game on the slate this week, we have a few of them. The next one is Green Bay versus Detroit. Green Bay has a 26.5 team total. I got to tell you, I really love Aaron Jones from this game. Aaron Rodgers, surprisingly enough, he's looking to be chalk. And as much as I like Aaron Rodgers over the years, without Devontae Adams, he's just not the same guy. If he's looking to be chalk, that seems like a kind of a fade for me as far as stacks. I just don't. Their offense hasn't been good enough where I could see them getting there with several pass catchers. I think this is a game where I would either prefer to stack the other side of this game or just take pieces from this game. Aaron Jones, Robert Tonyan, Alan Lazard. I think they can all be mixed in there. On the Detroit side, they just traded away TJ Hawkinson, so I don't love him. I don't love their passing offense without TJ. We don't know what it's going to be. And Amron doesn't project very well this week. I do like Jamal Williams in GPPs because with Swift's uncertainty, I think there's a good chance that Jamal Williams could get a full workload. He already gets goal line carries. He scored 20 plus points last week with Swift in the game. So I like him at low ownership. The next game we have the Raiders versus the Jaguars. I love Travis Etienne this week. On the Raiders side, I don't really like anything outside of Josh Jacobs in tournaments. And Foster Moreau as a tight end option if Darren Waller misses a game again. Etienne has been really a focal point of the offense. He's looked very good. He's a great play for me in all formats. And I do like some Christian Kirk this week. He projects quite well as well. Next game, we have two running backs, really, I think, a low-scoring game, 40.5, but Indy and New England. I think you could play Deion Jackson in tournaments. I wouldn't play him in cash because I think there's a lot of better ways to go. And on DraftKings specifically, in that game, I like Ramondre Stevenson better. But, yeah, I would have a lot of Deion Jackson exposure in tournaments just because he's minimally priced. They just traded away Nyheim Hines. Jonathan Taylor is out this week. So he looks like a good play. And then Ramondre Stevenson, specifically if Damian Harris is out, Ramondre Stevenson looks fantastic this week. So he would be a really good play for me. Now, the Buffalo Bills and the next game, this looks to be a blowout, 46-point game total. The Bills have a 28-point team total. So Josh Allen always has cash consideration. I don't like Diggs this week going against Sauce Gardner. He's just too high priced. The game doesn't really project that well as far as a competitive standpoint. So I certainly would prefer just playing Josh Allen by himself in cash games. And if you do, as far as tournaments, I like both Gabe Davis. I like Knox, and I also like Isaiah McKenzie in stacks. Not forcing a bring back. I don't think you need one at all this week. Very low team total for the Jets. They're really banged up. So the next game we have Minnesota and Washington at 43.5. On this game, I think there's some stacking considerations that I like. On the Minnesota side, obviously Cousins, I think he stacks really well with Jefferson this week. I also like Osborne, who I think projects quite well. And Heineke's been getting a lot more of a target share, about 26% McLaurin has begun a 26% target share with Heineke in the offense. So I think you can bring it back. You could do double stacks or even a single stack, bring it back with Heineke in that game. And not get too crazy with it. Pretty low total, but if I'm doing a bring back, it's going to be Heineke. Now, a game that projects really well, and I like the Arizona side, is Seattle and Arizona. Arizona's at home this time. They're favorites, 25.5-point total. This game has a 49-point total. Not the best matchup for Kenneth Walker this week. He's been very efficient with his runs, scoring touchdowns. At some point, that's going to come down. I like him in tournaments, but not in cash this week. I think there's a lot better options as far as Arizona. Kyler looks way different with DeAndre in the offense. I love Kyler plus DeAndre stacks this week. Really Kyler plus 2. So Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz both have consideration for me. And then obviously pick who you want to bring it back with on the Seattle side. If you're doing really heavy game stacks, I like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. You could bring back with either of those, get some exposure to both. The last one, very low game total. Not a lot to like in this game. For me, outside of maybe Mike Evans, Cooper Kupp's got an ankle injury. They have a very low team total, 19 points. Tampa Bay is 22-point team total. Both these teams have good defenses, and the offenses haven't been playing well. So despite the fact that there's a lot of star players in this game, very low total. I would say in GPP, I would have low exposure, but I think you could do a game stack in this game just because of the chance that these two teams get it together offensively with all the weapons they have. The Cooper Kupps, Allen Robinsons, Chris Godwins, and Mike Evans, and whatnot. So very low exposure. That's all I would do, though. So real quick, kind of want to look at the chalkboard. Some of the guys for quarterback, top guy, projected guy, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Geno Smith, Derek Carr, and Kyler Murray. At running back, we have Travis Etienne, top projected ownership, 26%. Stevenson, Aaron Jones, Jacobs, and Kenneth Walker. At wide receiver, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Amon-Ra, and Chris Godwin. So that's going to do it for wide receivers. Tight end, Robert Tonyan, Kyle Pitts, Evan Ingram, Gerald Everett, and Hayden Hurst. So, and then at defense, we have Tampa Bay, Carolina, Washington, and Indy. Now, really where I am going this week, most likely is those top 3 running backs I really like fitting into my cash lineup. So Travis Etienne, Ramondre Stevenson, and Aaron Jones. I'm definitely trying to fit them in. I think if you play Josh Palmer, who projects highly owned, I think at the end of the day he'll probably end up being the most highly owned guy at 5,100. It's pretty easy to get those guys in. Also DJ Moore at 5,800. It's just too good of a matchup, I think, there. And then that'll allow you really to. You're not going to be able to get Josh Allen in, but I do think you could play Tua in cash and, a very cheap quarter tight end mixed with those 3 wide receivers, the Palmer, the Moore, and then kind of round it out with DeAndre Hopkins. That would be where I would be looking to go with my cash lineup this week. As far as tournaments, I like stacks. I like for GPP, for Millie Maker type stacks, some of these stacks that I would like, as I've kind of mentioned, just doing the overview of the games. I do think Kirk Cousins would be a good stack this week with KJ Osborne as a way to get different. Kirk Cousins, Jefferson, KJ Osborne. I certainly like that one. I like Kyler Murray plus 2 stacks, and I would switch that up with both Rondale Moore and Zach Ertz. And then I do like Josh Allen because he's so high priced. I don't think a lot of people are going to get there. I like Josh Allen plus 1 stacks. I would do Josh Allen plus Gabe Davis and Josh Allen plus Isaiah McKenzie. And then we would be looking to build around a few other games. So that, I think, will do it for this week. Is a quick one. I hope you all make some monies. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and hit that notification button as you'll never miss an episode when we go live every Saturday. We'll be back next week. Thank you for joining us. Out.